So hey bookwormies, welcome back. And if you don't know what this video is, I'm going to tell you because we are going to be continuing what I started in last week's video, which is an updated version of showing my TBR because my TBR is extensive, as you saw in the last one. And we're going to get ready to talk a lot, so get ready. This is a lot of information to process. Sit down and be ready. So, here's my screen. This is where we left off. We finished talking about Guild and then we didn't continue. So now we're going to continue this. Oh, also, don't look at those numbers. Those numbers are jumbled. My Goodreads is really weird, okay? Also, quick, please, Goodreads, if you can, I'd love an updated version of Goodreads because sometimes it's kind of annoying to use. Okay. First book, which is Daughter of Darkness, and this is like a fantasy romance. It's a dark fantasy, so we're getting ready for it. This has a 3.44 star rating. It has 346 pages. That's a good amount. I feel like this is gonna be also dark romance. I don't know then. If it is, then I don't know if I'll read it soon. Next we have The Rosie Project, which is a contemporary chick lit romance adult, and it sounds pretty nice, and I feel like it's gonna be this cutesy little romance. It has 292 pages. Next we have The Star-Touched Queen, which is a fantasy romance with some mythology retelling. And remember last video I talked about how I love retellings and how I love mythology, especially after my Percy Jackson obsession with Greek mythology, Roman mythology, and also the Magnus Chase thing. So there's this, and it also has a choice award, so maybe I'll get to it soon. Book Lovers by Emily Henry. Main reason why it's here, first of all, it looks like it's a romance book about both, and with probably them also being book lovers, so that's there. And also because Emily Henry, everybody talks about her, and I've decided I want to read another one to just see how she'll be. And this sounds super cool, and also has two rivals. I love rival stories. Next we have The Only One Left, which is a thriller mystery, and this sounds so cool. The thing is, look at this. At 17, Lenora Hope hung her sister with a rope. Gosh, I've heard many good things about this, so I'm pretty excited, and it's a pretty new release in 2023. Next we have Forever Never by Lucy Score. I read a few books by Lucy Score, and many of them I loved, even though some people say I like them, and nobody can say otherwise. But yeah, it's a romance. Next we have Queen of Roses, which is a fantasy romance with retelling and fae, and I love those. So amazed. And it says, a doomed love, a dangerous mission, and a kingdom on the brink of war, a cast-off princess. And I'm very excited because I feel like this princess will be badass. Alright. Next we have So This Is Love. It's a fantasy retelling of Cinderella, and also I don't want to read it. And also because this cover is literally selling me. Has a 4.08 star rating, which is amazing, so yes. Next we have The Long Game, which is a romance, and disgraced soccer exec reluctantly enlists the help of a retired soccer star in coaching a children's team in this small town love story. Small town is almost always amazing, so why not? And it's a sports romance. Next we have The Black Witch, which is another fantasy romance with witches, of course, by the title. A new Black Witch will rise. Her power is vast beyond imagining. And it also has a choice award, and it has a 4.09 rating. And it's also a series, so I gotta wait until I can commit, because I have a lot of fantasy series I'm in the middle of. Next we have Better Than Before, which is the 0.5 book on, so it's colliding with Better Than the Movies and Betting on You, because it has to do, Charlie meets up with Wes and Liz, and so that's how they meet and stuff like that. So that sounds pretty cute. I don't know if it's out yet or not, but I really want to read it. And it's so short, 42 pages. Hello, easy to read. Next we have Love Theoretically. So many people talk about Ali Hazelwood and Love Theoretically and the Love Hypothesis that I was just let's just put it in here. I will read it at some point because I've only read so far 2 Ali Hazelwood books. Both of them are kind of more out of her comfort zone and are not the OG books that everybody talks about. So they're like different, but I'm really excited for this book when I read it, and it's a romance. Next we have The Making of June Farrow. I mainly put this because a booktuber named Jamie Falk recommended this to me and said that this is really good. I'm just like, maybe one day I'll read this, and I like it. It's a fantasy mystery romance with some magic realism and time travel, which I love time travel because I read this series when I was small that had to do with this. Next we have Verity by Colleen Hoover. This is like a thriller romance mystery kind of idea, and though I don't really like Colleen Hoover because I'm not going to read any of her other books, some people say that Verity is nice, and it's not really a romance specifically, so maybe I'll read it. And it's not too long. Next we have A Study in Drowning. I've heard some good things about this, and this also got a nominee award in 2023. It's a pretty new book, and it really sounds nice. And Study, Drowning, I don't know. It's just giving me like Poseidon vibes. I don't know why. I have a problem. It's fantasy with gothic and mystery, and I like that. Then we have Wayward, and I think I was interested in it a long time ago, but it's mainly because of a different book that Amelia Hart has, and I was like, maybe one day I'll read this. I don't know. It's magic realism with fantasy. Next we have The Last Storm. The Last Storm, which is a fantasy romance with dragons. Dragons is where it sold me because I love Fourth Wing, and hello, why not? So yeah. Next we have Nothing Like the Movies, which is going to be the second book in Better Than the Movies. This book is coming out in September. And guys, when it comes out, I'm going to read it. I'm going to get it somewhere. I don't care, Kindle, whatever, and I'm going to read it. I'm going to sit down, sit my bottom, and read it. Something I'm scared about is because it's a second chance romance. I already know the characters from the first book because these are the exact same characters. And I'm super scared. This is a romance contemporary, and I'm really scared for this. Next we have Spectacular, which is a 3.5 book from the Caraval trilogy. I really love the Caraval trilogy. Well, not love, but it was really good. And this is like a 3.5 book. It's coming out in October 22nd, so we still have that some time, but it's like a Christmas novella, so I'm thinking to maybe save it for Christmas time, of course. Next we have Magnolia Parks. So many people talk about Magnolia Parks universe and the Daisy Hates universe, and I was just like, let's read this at some point. But since this is a whole series and I don't think it's finished yet, I don't know, I think there's going to be another Daisy Hates book, but I want to maybe finish maybe the Addicted / Calloway Sisters series before going into this. Next we have The House Across the Lake, which is a thriller mystery. I've heard many things about this, but I'm kind of scared to read it because I'm a chicken. I can't. Okay, next there's Lock Every Door by Riley Sager. So many people say that Riley Sager is so good. Well, mainly because Haley Pham says that she loved almost every Riley Sager book, and I'm just like, right away, put you on the list. And it's a mystery thriller, of course, and it also got a nominee for the best one in 2019. Next you have If We Were Villains, and this is like a mystery thriller, and I think some people said that it was sad, or maybe it's a different book, I don't know. And it also has a very good rating, so I think maybe I'll read it. Next we have The Cheat Sheet by Sarah Adams. I've heard about this book sometime, and it's a sports romance, contemporary, and I'm just like, maybe. I haven't really read many sports romances. No, not any at all. No, kind of one, I guess. I don't know. So, I don't know if I like it or not, but yeah. Next we have A Flicker in the Dark, which is a thriller mystery too. Has 4 rating, very good. And it has 2 nominee awards, and it's suspense, crime, super cool supposed to be, and it's not too old of a book. So next we have All the Danger Stings by Stacey Willingham, and this is also got a nominee award, and this is a mystery thriller, and this sounds really good. So this sounds very, very crazy, this book. Next we have Only If You're Lucky, and this is about, it's also a thriller mystery. Now, this is the stage when I was like, oh, I want to read more thriller mysteries, so that's why we have so many right now on the list of these. But I'm thinking of maybe reading a few of them for maybe a Halloween video, maybe that I might do in October. I don't know, wink wink. But yeah, and this one also sounds pretty nice. Next we have An Ember in the Ashes, which is a fantasy romance by Sabah Tahir. This is a series, and some people say that it's really nice, but I don't know. I just can't get into the mood for this specific book. But it's also this part. Lie is a slave, Elias is a soldier, neither is free. So, sounds pretty nice. Next we have Skyward by Brandon Sanderson. Get ready because now we're going to have a few Brandon Sanderson books coming up into my want to read section. But this sounds so good, so good that I really want to read it. And it's a sci-fi fantasy book with some space and adventure. And I used to love adventure as a kid, and space just sounds so cool. So yeah. Next we have The Way of Kings, also by Brandon Sanderson. As I said, this is part of the Stormlight Archive. And this has fantasy, this is literally just a fantasy, and it sounds super cool. Next we have Elantris, which is one of Brandon Sanderson's more older books. As you can see, it was published in 2005. But it's a fantasy, and it's with some magic, and it sounds really cool. Next we have Steelheart, also by Brandon Sanderson, and this is another fantasy with some dystopian and some superheroes and some sci-fi, so this sounds pretty nice. And the blurb really tells a lot. And there's also, it has got a Goodreads Choice Award, so that's pretty interesting. Then we have Love on the Brain, also by Ali Hazelwood. This is like a short, cute, contemporary romance, and I kind of want to read it. It sounds like it's like a super quick thing, and yeah, I don't know, maybe I'll read it. Then we have Ever Summer After by Carly Fortune. There's some people talking about Carly Fortune like last year, and I was just like, maybe this sounds nice. And also, this book has literally 2 nominee awards, which is crazy. This is also a contemporary romance. Next we have Love and Other Words by Christina Lauren. I really want to read this because, first of all, people say that they cry in this book. People say that it's sad and it's romance, and I just really want to read it. And also, this is literally like gonna kill me. The story of the heart can never be unwritten. Literally says everything. Next we have Meet Me at the Lake, which is also by Carly Fortune, which is one of her more newer books that was in 2023 published. And this has also a nominee award and Goodreads, and this is also a contemporary romance. Next we have Same Time Next Summer. I'm going to read this soon, I know it, because by Animal Wagnigan, because I read one book by her, which was Nora Goes Off Script, and I cried, and that was amazing. And just by that, I know that I'm going to love many of Annabelle Monaghan's books. And so I'm probably going to read this soon. So get ready for that. Maybe an August wrap-up, you're going to see this. I don't know. One Last Stop. This is a LGBTQ contemporary lesbian kind of book. I think it's a romance. I don't know. Or maybe it's just like a story. Yeah, it's romance. And it also has a Goodreads Choice Award. Next we have The Wedding Crasher. This kind of reminds me of a book by Lynn Painter that I read recently. I didn't really love that book, but this one sounds better. I don't know. I feel like it's going to be cool. And it's a contemporary romance, and it's super short, so why not? Then we have The Kiss Quotient by Helen Huang, and I heard some things about this, and I don't know, maybe I'll enjoy it. It's a contemporary romance. Next we have Swift and Saddled. Okay, this is the second book from the Rebel Blue Ranch. The first one is somewhere in my list. Of course, don't worry, I'm not going to read the second book before reading the first. I'm going to read the first, then the second, and I think they said that there's going to be a third one coming out, so yeah. But of course, as I said, this is a series, so I need to wait. But this is like a small town, I think, supposed to be ranch kind of idea. So yeah. This Summer Will Be Different by Carly Fortune, another one. This is her actual newest release, which was in 2024, and I think maybe I'll read it. This is a romance, and it sounds pretty nice. Next we have Business Casual, and this is the 4th book in Love Light series, like romance standalone series thing, and this is a contemporary romance. Next we have A Touch of Chaos, which is the 4th book in the Hades and Persephone saga. But I don't know. I have only read like one of the books, I think, or none. I don't know. This is a fantasy romance with some mythology. I talked about it in my last TBR thing. And then we have A Ruinous Fate, which is a fantasy romance with some witches and LGBT. So it sounds pretty nice. And it's also this really is selling me on it, which is fate does not choose the weak, fate chooses the ready, which is kind of true. Next we have the Bromance Book Club. The first rule of book club, you don't talk about book club. And people say that this is like super nice, short, sweet, funny, so I really want to read it. This is a contemporary romance too. Oh wait, I talked about this. Okay. This we have bonus Keith stories. Now it's I guess gone. I don't know. I guess it's like we don't have this anymore. But yeah, this was a short story part of like the Keith of the Lost City series. Yeah. Next we have Unravel. This book is coming out in November 12th, 2024, and I'm super excited for it. Also, if any of you guys have read the other Keep of the Lost City books, or you're planning on to, and you're almost there before this book comes out, I have a video that I posted a while back, which is theories for this book over here. So if you guys are interested in seeing some of my theories for it, of course, if you haven't read the series before or you're planning to, don't go in there because I'm literally going to spoil everything for you from the series, because there were many things going on. But yeah, if you guys want to check that out, there you go. But I'm really excited for this book, and it's coming out in November. I'm scared. Alright. Okay, next we have Daughter of the Moon Goddess, which is part of the Celestial Kingdom series. This also has 2 nominee awards, and it's a romance, mythology, retelling, fantasy idea, and I love retellings, as I said. So, next we have The Prior of the Orange Tree. Okay, turns out it's a series now, guys, because people say that it's only 1 book, but I guess it's more. And it's super thick. 848 pages. Somebody kill me. But this is a fantasy with dragons, which literally just sold me on that word, dragons. That's all you need to say for me to get sold on this. And it's a lesbian romance, and it sounds super good, but I'm scared because it's a thick book, and somehow it turns out it's a series now, so gotta commit. But yeah, now we are 50 books into this whole thing, and yeah, let's continue. Okay, so let's look. Oh my god, guys, we're halfway through this. We have a bit more, and we're getting to 200 books. There is where we just left off now. Let's continue. You guys ready? Okay, so next we have Emily's Wild Encyclopedia of Fairies. And the main reason why I haven't read this yet is, first of all, because people say that it's super slow, and I like an action-packed book, but this is more like a slower, like just going through the motions, like having fun. It's a fantasy, but I don't know when I'll read it. Next we have Starling House, which is a fantasy, horror, gothic, romance, mystery book kind of idea. And I like those kind of like mystery fantasy books because they're usually really interesting. Next we have Done and Dusted. Here's the first book, guys. This is the first one, and it's a Western contemporary romance. Next we have Daring to Dream, which is a contemporary romance. It has pretty good reviews, rating, but it is kind of old. It was published in 1996. Next we have The Last Word, which is a mystery thriller. And I've heard many people talk about it, but of course I'm waiting for the right moment to start reading it. Next we have No Exit, which is another mystery thriller, but I'm kind of scared to read this one because it kind of sounds like I'm literally gonna like run for the hills before reading it. Next we have The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. I really want to read this because so many people say that it's so sad, but it's so good. And it's about World War II. It's a historical fiction, but it sounds really nice. I'm scared. Next we have Dragonfall. First of all, Dragon just sold me on it because it's a fantasy with dragons and romance. Well, that's all I need to start reading a book. But it is a series, hard to commit to, and I feel like it's gonna take some getting into. So yeah. Next we have As Long as the Lemon Tree Grows, which is a historical fiction with romance, and I'm less of a historical fiction girl, but yeah, but it's super highly rated, like 4.5, guys. That's crazy. That's crazy, and it also got a Goodreads Choice Award. And we have The Stolen Air by Holly Black, but to read this series, I have to read the whole series before that, which is the Folk of Air trilogy, and I really don't want to read that. I told you guys about that in the last TBR video, so go watch that if you haven't yet. Okay, next we have Behind the Net. Many people talk about this. This is a sports romance hockey story, but I don't know if I want to read it yet. I don't know if I will ever, but maybe I do. I don't know. Next we have Curse of Shadows and Thorns, which is a fantasy romance with fae and magic. And it sounds super cool because it talks about a rebellious princess, a cursed rogue, a forbidden love that will bring a kingdom to its knees. Next we have Nectar of War, the Song of Verity and Serenity. It's a fantasy romance, fae, but I'm kind of scared that it's going to be a slow burn, like a really slow story, so I don't know if I want to read it yet. Next we have Of Blood and Fire, which sounds really cool, and it's fantasy and dragons. Solely on that, of course. And then it says Born in Fire, Tempered in Blood. Sounds super cool, and it has 4.12 rating. Also have The Children of Gods and Fighting Men, and it has 4.15 rating, which is super good, and it's a fantasy with some mythology, historical, which sounds super cool. Next we have Everything We Never Said, and this is a dark romance, high stakes, YA thriller. Sounds super cool. I really want to read this at some point, and I feel like it reminds me, just the title and a bit like the picture, it reminds me of if he had been with me. I don't know why. Empire of the Vampire, which is a fantasy vampire horror kind of story, and sounds super cool. Kind of reminds me, just like from Holy Cup Comes Holy Light, that kind of thing. It reminds me of Immortal Instruments series. Next we have When the Moon Hatched. This is a pretty thick book, 718 pages, and people say that there's a lot of words and a lot of things you need to know and stuff like that. So I don't know then if I'm ready to start reading this, but it does have fantasy romance and it has dragons. I don't know. This is Kill for Me, Kill for You, which is a mystery thriller and sounds super cool. And I'm very excited for this one, and I think that I'll like this. It kind of reminds me of Listen for the Lie, which I really loved. Next we have Babel by R.F. Kuang, and I really want to read this because I really liked her Poppy Word trilogy, and this sounds super cool. This is a fantasy historical fiction. Next we have Fae Bound, which is a fantasy romance with lesbian and stuff like that. Next we have The Friend Zone, which, oh yeah, I didn't talk about. This actually is the actual first book from the Happy Ever After playlist. So yeah, here it's romance and contemporary. Next we have A Kiss of Iron, which is a fantasy romance with fae and magic. And then after this we have The Neighbor Favor, which is a contemporary romance, and it sounds super cute. See, and it's 403 pages and was published in 2023. Next we have The Blood That Binds Us, which is a fantasy romance, and it just is giving me a feel, and I kind of want to read it. I know. Next we have The Darkest Minds, which is a fantasy dystopian romance series. It's hard to commit to, but it has a very good rating, and it has a Goodreads Choice Award. Then you have The Frozen River, which is a historical fiction mystery thriller kind of vibe. But I don't know if I'll read it. I don't know. But if I do, you'll know about it. Next we have The Fake Out, which is the second book in the Vancouver Storm, which the first one was the other, like, one that had kind of this kind of style thing. You know, you saw it. But this is also sports romance hockey. Next we have A Reaper at the Gates, which is the third book in A Number of Ashes. I don't know where's the second one. Don't ask. This place is really just whack because I have like the first, the third, the second in there somewhere. I don't know why I've even seen the second and the third book if I haven't read the first. I don't know. This is also a fantasy romance, of course, since it's the third, and The Ember of the Ashes. Then we have Defy the Stars, which is a sci-fi romance fantasy space dystopian kind of style. She's a soldier, he's a machine, and that sounds super cool, and I feel like it's going to be kind of sad though. Next we have The Fragile Threads of Power by V.E. Schwab, and I think somebody said that you have to read something else before reading The Fragile Threads of Power, so I have to remember which one it was, and read that first before. Oh yeah, so you have to read A Darker Shade of Magic before coming to this, so I have to get to that, but first I need to finish Vengeful, which is part of Vicious Duology. Then I have another love story, which is by Ashley Pawson. I love The 7 Years Slip by her, but I haven't gotten, of course, that one book by her. I don't remember the title. This is one of her newest releases, and this is also a magic realism romance. Then we have No One Can Know, which is a thriller mystery, but this sounds super cool. And it's like Emma hasn't told her husband much about her past. He knows her parents are dead, and she hasn't spoken to her sisters in years. And it sounds super cool. Next we have The Veiled Kingdom, which is a series, I think a duology, I don't know, which is a fantasy romance. Then we have Billy Summers by Stephen King. And so many people say he's the killer, like he's the king of thrillers and stuff like that. So I don't know, maybe I'll read this at some point. It sounds super cool. And this is like in the point of view of the killer, and it sounds super cool. Then we have Riley Thorne and the Dead Guy Next Door. I want to read this because it's by Lucy Score, obviously, and it has a really good rating, 4.24, and it's a romance, mystery, contemporary paranormal. Then we have Fractured Sky, which is the 5th book in a romance series. Here, let's show it to you guys. Oh, let me save the first one because we gotta start in the right order. Let me then take out Fractured Sky because, hello, we're not reading it yet, bro. We're not. Oh, Snowbound is like the 0.5. So here we go. But yeah. Next we have a Heartless by Marissa Mayer. I've heard many good things about this, and I think I read a book by Marissa Mayer. I'm not sure, or maybe I saved one of her books. This also has a Goodreads Choice Award. Then we have Trial of the Sun Queen, and this is a fantasy romance with some fae and magic. Next we have Spellslinger, which is a fantasy magic kind of idea, and this is just giving me kind of like King of Hearts kind of style, kind of giving me Jax, I don't know, which is from A Curse of True Love. And then we have Demons in Your Mind, which is a military fiction. It kind of sounds like it's going to be sad, and it's going to be, of course, very realistic, I feel like. Then I have Legends and Lattes. I've heard about this in a lot of places, but I don't know if I want to read it. I don't know. It's a fantasy romance, a cozy mystery. I don't know if I like cozy mysteries. I don't know. I don't know exactly what cozy mystery is. Mystery's supposed to be like somebody died and you have to find out what happened. Well, not exactly, but you get the gist. I have Jade City, which I've heard so many good things about. And it's a fantasy, fiction, sci-fi kind of idea. Then I have The Raven Boys, which I've heard about in some spot, but I don't know if I'll ever read it. I don't think it's my style, but I don't know. It's a fantasy paranormal romance. And also has a Goodreads Choice Award. Then we have Red Rising. There we go. There's the first book by Pierce Brown. This is a sci-fi dystopian, which kind of I feel like got pretty like famous in on like Book Talk and BookTube. And this has a Goodreads Choice Award too. Then we have Never by Jessa Hastings. Jessa Hastings is the one that I think published the Magnolia Parks series and stuff like that. Yeah, there it is. It's a fantasy romance though, this one. Then we have Same Time Next Year, which is by Tessa Bailey. And this sounds really cool, and this is a romance novella, which is sports romance. Then we have The No Show, which I've heard about around, which is like about these 3 girls that so this guy stood them up or something, I don't know, and so these 3 girls band up to do something, I don't know. And this is a contemporary romance, obviously. Then there's Then She Was Gone, which I've heard so many people talk about, and this is a thriller mystery. Then there's A Fate Inked in Blood, which is a fantasy romance, and with some mythology, but I don't know when I'll read it. I just don't feel that urge to read it anymore. And lastly, from 200 books is One for My Enemy, which I have a physical copy of, and I really want to read this. But first, I want to read the Red Queen series by her because, of course. Oh no, or is that? No, sorry, not the. No, that's by a different author. Sorry, I'm getting mixed up. I want to read like the other series by her that she has. I don't remember, but I've heard so many good things about this specific book, and that's super sad, but it's super cool, and it's a fantasy romance with some retelling. But yeah, here we go. We are finished with the other batch of 100 books, guys. We've seen 200 books. of all the ones that I've saved and have in my to read and that I want to read at some point in time, hopefully. And I hope you guys enjoyed seeing all of these books. Of course, from these past 2 videos that I've posted about showing my TBR and the next that are going to come, please comment down below if you want to see some specific book that I should read in here, or books that I should add, but don't recommend because then I'm never going to get to everything over here. But if you have any other recommendations to add over here, or books that you think I should read right at this moment for my TBR, tell me in the comments below and I'll try my best to get to them and read them, because maybe then we can make a video of this. I don't know. But I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time.